Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. This is a platform where we get curious about all things gender, sex and sexuality, as well as feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Come with us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I identify as a cisgender woman and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I'm speaking to Kit for the second time, just over a year and a half after our first conversation in February 2019, which was episode 1 of the podcast. Kit's pronouns are still they and them, and they identify as non-binary, trans-feminine, demigirl, and genderfluid. We talk about football, privilege, teaching, altruism, politics, the NHS, finding common ground in unexpected places, and what it's been like being visibly and publicly trans. It was recorded on the 22nd of September 2020. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, welcome. What's
Hello.
your name?
My name is Kit. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a trans feminine, non-binary demigirl, at least somewhat gender fluid. But I think I've settled on, funny enough, it's funny for someone who's gender fluid to say I've settled with that, but it's been a while now, so.
Yeah, so it's about a year and a half since we last spoke. Yeah, so what's been going on for you?
A lot. Yeah, quite a fair bit. So actually, it's my birthday in a week's time, and it's my second birthday because it will be 2 years to the day since I came out as transgender publicly.
Oh, wow.
And I decided to do that on my birthday. So yeah, so the last time you spoke to me, I had only just recently done that. So only about, 5-6 months later on, but now it's coming up to 2 years since that date. So yeah, and then in this year and a half, quite a fair bit has changed. Mostly, yeah, a lot of flux, and of course, everything that's taking place at the moment with the big C and everything like that. So the less said about that, the better. But I've had a lot of changes because of that, just as much as anyone else. But I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Has anything major happened for you in your gender journey? Because obviously you're still using pretty much the same labels, although you say the gender fluid is still, applicable, but a bit less so.
Yeah, I think it's more of a case of So when I kind of gave myself the tag of gender fluid before, and I remember telling you quite about, like certain situations which would make me feel perhaps more stereotypically masculine, or what society would say was masculine and what society would say was feminine. I recall that kind of conversation we had. And it's not so much of, that all still happens, and I still get I played walking football last night, for example, and I got, just as competitive as ever, and felt my mouse, but actually not really, because to stick with the walking football thing last night, I actually was pretty warm in the jersey I was wearing, and I was wearing my sports bra underneath, and I was just like, and I was getting so fed up because I'm quite competitive, and I just too hot. I just tore my jersey off, threw it on the side, completely didn't care that I was wearing a sport, so a sports bra is not exactly lingerie, is it? It's just basically a crop top, isn't it?
Yeah.
So and then I felt like I had a little bit more finesse, a little bit more guile to me, a little bit more, and actually I ended up banging 2 goals just by running around in my sports bra and my shorts. So walking football. So yeah, so I know in the previous podcast I talked about playing football is one of those things where I kind of like feel, on my team there were 3 girls. So it's like, so I've come to the conclusion really that gender fluid is not so much about like the masculine feminine kind of thing. It's just kind of the societal differences there. So that's the only really tag that I've kind of dropped, or just said, yeah, because it's just my personality, just swaying from one situation to another. So yeah, I've best to say I've kind of like just let that fly off in the wind, that label and that cloud, and if it decides to hang around me, fine. But the other ones really, trans feminine, demigirl, definitely non-binary. They've gone the other way. They've kind of like stuck to me like glue now. I feel very comfortable, like a warm blanket now. Those ones.
They feel at home.
They most certainly do.
Lovely. So, as you just said, you're now kind of almost 2 years into your journey of, after having come out. So what's that been like?
It's most certainly been a journey. So I'm pretty much, I gave that little anecdote about walking football, and just basically that's how my approach is. It's not that I don't care or I'm not bothered anymore about how I present myself. It's a case that I've become so much comfortable with who I am that I'm almost 100% the time presenting as who I feel I should be. So almost all the time now, my wardrobe is almost exclusively feminine, kind of like on the spectrum between androgynous to feminine style clothing. And I've got a range of different season stuff now. So I've got obviously I'm going through my summer stuff at the moment. I'm enjoying wearing all my summer stuff. But I've got all these like lovely kind of like cozy, fleecy dresses ready for the winter and all this kind of stuff. So I'm pretty established with all that. So of course I've been visible walking around town. I've been visible online quite a lot because I've been doing, in what has changed actually quite a fair bit since I last spoke to you, is that I no longer have a full-time job, but I've been doing a lot more work with my education blog, a lot more freelancing with as an educator and as a teacher trainer. And I've been I've been doing almost monthly video blogs about educational issues, particularly current affairs that could be related to geography education. So I've got a YouTube channel now, and I'm completely 100% visible on those as well, without a second thought. I don't think, how am I coming across to other people? I'm just presenting as myself. So, my visibility I'm not just visible to the people around me, to my family, to my friends. I'm actually visible on the web globally, if you like, to the wider community. I've put myself out there, and what I've got, and I can tell you a few things about the consequences, which are mostly positive of that, really,
Right.
and some kind of heartwarming things as well that have been told, and it's just vindicated everything that I've been doing, really.
Yeah, please do. Because I think visibility is difficult, well, for a lot of people, to be fair,
It
but
is.
obviously for gender diverse people, it must be even harder. Obviously, I don't know, but you tell me.
Well, I remember recalling in the first time we spoke that I feel I've got quite a high level of privilege. So for anyone who hasn't heard me talk before, go back and listen to
Obviously.
obviously to listen to the
Yeah.
episode if they haven't. But basically, to summarize what I said, was that I feel like I'm a person who's got a lot of privilege. So at the time, I said I was working in a place which is very, very, progressive. It's very, very understanding, inclusive. I was a member of an LGBT pride group, staff group. My boss was completely accepting. I was even able to go to an international conference, as who I truly was, and I can come back to that a bit later. And I'm pretty financially secure. I've got, I'm highly educated, and I'm white, which is privilege, quite a lot of privilege in itself. So I remember talking about all these ways that I've got privilege, and because of my situation, I have the ability to be visible to a degree that's safe for me, because all of my circumstances kind of like play right into being someone who is visibly trans. It's not all been plain sailing, but compared to some things that some people have to go through, where just being who they are puts themselves not just in emotional harm's way, but puts themselves in physical harm's way as well. I completely understand that the level of privilege I have is very high in that respect. And of course, everything that's been happening recently with Black Lives Matter and the killing of George Floyd, and I'm part of a working group to try and help decolonize the geography curriculum, for example. I've again reassessed my level of privilege, and it's even higher than I initially thought as well, because of all those issues as well. So I wouldn't say I've doubled down on being visible. That wouldn't really be a way of saying it. I've become more resolute in making sure that I am visible, because I've got to use this privilege that I have for those who either don't feel they're ready to be visible, or they feel they can't be visible because it may put themselves at emotional or physical risk. So and this is not to say that anybody in the same level of privilege as me should do this. I'm not saying that. I shouldn't say you should be visible for people who can't. You've got to go on your own personal circumstances and how you feel inside, because you may have a high level of privilege, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're resilient to all forms of.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you're ready necessarily.
Exactly.
Or that's your way of doing, this kind of activism,
Absolutely.
I suppose.
And I suppose maybe it comes from stemming having a long career as a teacher and working with children and wanting to get the best out of them, that I think I'm quite altruistic at nature, almost to a masochistic level. Seriously, I'm trying to freelance at the moment. I'm doing a decent job at freelancing at the moment, but I actually find it painful asking for remittance when I just used to do things to help people out, if you know what I mean. So I'll help you out planning this lesson, or I'll give you a few ideas for lesson material, or I'll talk to your kids about longshore drift or climate change or something. Well, I used to do that like just in my own time for free, but now of course I've got to try and charge for those services. So I'm altruistic by nature, and I feel that that kind of has lended itself pretty well to. Plus, my privilege has lent itself pretty well to being determined in being visible for the trans community.
So, what's that been like? I mean, how's that been showing up?
So, yeah, it's what's really been interesting is that so the other community, I'm obviously a member of the LGBT trans community, obviously, just by being who I am and being visible in that respect. But I'm also a member of the geography teacher community. I mean, I may not be a geography teacher in the classroom anymore, but the geography teacher community, I love them to bits, and I'll always identify as a geography, even if I never go back into the classroom as a teacher ever again. I'll always feel I'm a geography teacher, and B, the geography teacher community, I feel, will always welcome me. They know I'm a bit of a pest, and I like to, but they like that about me. They like me contributing, and they're so generous with me, and they're so welcoming and everything like that. So and of course I'm visible. I'm being who I am, and so everything that I'm doing with the geography community. So as I say, doing these videos, I'm presenting as a transgender person. I make no shade of it. I don't try and hide my voice or the way I dress and my clothes. So of course, what happens then is that I get quite looking at statistics of all my stuff. One of my videos recently actually has had about 800, 900 views, which is incredible. But I do get a lot of coverage in the geography teacher community. And then what I've found has started to happen was that I still got people message me saying, thanks for this video, or can I use this with my students, or do you have any further information? I want to do a lesson. And that's all been fantastic. It's great. But I started to get messages regarding being a trans person, and some really kind of lovely ones as well. Well, they're all lovely, but some of them have been just, thank you for being you. But quite a few of them have been asking me almost for reassurance, because every genuine teacher out there, their first priority, and without a shadow of a doubt, is the safeguarding and the well-being of their students. When you become a teacher, getting them to learn stuff is not the first priority. The first priority is making them safe, secure, and about who they are, the students, about who they are, and that's your first priority as a. So I'll give you an example. One of the first messages I got was from a member of the geography teacher colleague who said, I teach at an all-girls school, and the students' parents came into the school and wanted to let everyone know that their child identified as male and was a transgender boy, a trans boy, a trans man. But we're in an all-girls school, and I really want to support this kid. I want to make him feel comfortable and things like that. And the first thing I said to this person, I said, do you know you just use his pronouns like straight off the bat? That's amazing. That's already something that you're doing. Yeah. So well done, and so that's the kind of things. So I said to this person, okay, so just be normal, just be the wonderful teacher that you are. When they come into the classroom, just say, hi everybody, how you doing? Hello. Let's give this kid a name, David. Yeah. So in an all-girls school, so hey, how you doing, Sally? How you doing, Maisie? Hello, David. Welcome. Come into classroom. Just make it as normal as possible and things. So but I'm no expert on this kind of thing. I just trying to give these kind of so that's been really, really nice. And then I actually got in touch with this teacher a little bit later, who then turned around and said how that they've been working on everything. They feel more comfortable, and in fact, they've now started to find out that there's been more students coming to them and confiding in how they feel about their identity.
Wow!
And that's just that's it. And then I just basically said to that teacher, "You're awesome. You're just doing a great job, and don't worry, you will make mistakes. If you do make mistakes, just say sorry. I'm still getting used to it, and move on." So that's just one example of some messages that I've been getting from teachers, for example.
That's amazing. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, pronouns, they are a tricky thing because even though
Yes.
I know quite a few trans people, non-binary people, I do get them wrong still all the time, and I have to correct myself all the time.
Exactly, and the thing is as well is because pronouns are so ubiquitous. When I think it almost becomes like a the same as a muscle memory, isn't it? Like just a normal reflex. So
Mm,
one
yeah.
thing I've also learned to be a bit kinder on people in the last year and a half is with the pronouns thing, because it's less about it's there's very likely to be any ill intent there. Most of the time, it's a reflex. So another example
Hmm.
from walking football, actually. So where some so I was making my way towards goal, which was great feeling, and then someone behind me shouts, "Don't give him, I mean her, any space, shield." And then by the time he'd finished that sentence, I'd scored. But yeah, and he came, bless him, after he got over the fact that
That's
after he
funny.
got effing and blinding over his defence, he came up to me and went, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I said, "Come off it. It's natural, isn't it? We all still say man on, don't we? Like pick him. It's just it's
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 so
less to do with,
ingrained.
yeah. It's exactly.
Yeah.
It's less to do with the person. It's just I know full well that football's not a man's sport. I think girls play football much better than blokes, to be honest. But
Haha.
that's controversial. But
Yeah.
the way that the whole sports culture is, you default to
Mhm.
to the male pronoun when it comes to things like football, and of course, if you've got a mixed co-ed football match taking place, I've noticed
Mhm.
that whenever I've played co-ed football, so co-ed is, sorry, that's an American term. Co-ed, both and all genders taking place,
Mm,
not just
okay.
male and female football team. But I've noticed that when there's a co-ed match taking place, almost everybody defaults to the male pronoun, which is
Hmm.
really really interesting.
Yeah, isn't it?
So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, your point about pronouns is spot on. So I've been a lot more kinder on that, and I've got to the point. There's two things which I do quite automatically now to say, oh, don't worry about it. It's they
Mm,
them. Or when I introduce myself to someone new for the first time, it says, "Hi, my name's Kit. My pronouns are they them. You know, what's your name?"
mm,
I don't ask what's your name and pronouns because I know that's still a little bit for some people. But I just
mm,
say,
mhm.
yeah, hi, and you are, and then if they offer their pronouns, great. Some
Yeah,
people do
yeah,
buy. Some people do. They
yeah.
didn't think about it, but they
Be-
then do. Yeah,
because you did it, right? Because you
right.
said it.
Setting a precedence. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I've become well, I'm making a habit of adding it to things like I've got it on my email signature now. I think I've got it on
Yes.
Facebook, and those are pretty much the only places I hang out online. So yeah, but I
Absolutely.
think it all helps. Every effort is helpful, and
Yeah, indeed.
I think it's two things I've found helpful is practicing gender neutral pronouns
Yes.
like as a standard, so that's really helpful. What I struggle with, I think, is if someone prefers, okay, that's a whole other debate, like preferred pronouns, isn't it? It's not about that. But for example, if someone's pronouns are, they use they them,
Mm.
but they're also okay with either he him or she her, if they say to me, actually they them is okay, but I prefer he him,
Mm.
then the binary ones, I get them wrong more often. So
Right.
sometimes I then stick to the safety of the neutral ones, which I'm like more likely to get right. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So going back to the visibility thing. So
Hmm.
I'd love to take you few of these messages and stories that I received,
Oh, please
because
do.
every one
Yeah.
of these I receive, they're just so great. And okay, to everybody who's either thinking about, I want to be more visible, or you are being
Hmm.
visible and you're having doubts that you're being visible, I
Hmm.
I'll put a disclaimer in here. If I go through some of these, and some of these I'll read out word for word, some of them I won't, because I consent is absolute king for me, and I've got
Hmm.
consent from people about these, but I'm not going to read them out in a way that can identify anybody. So just to
Hmm.
put that disclaimer in there. But if you're thinking about being visible, but you feel you can't, but you want to give it a go, or you're visible at the moment and you're having doubts about being visible, when I read these out, think about these not being messages for me personally. I mean, I know that they are, but think about, this is a message that is sent to a visible trans person, and
Hmm.
therefore, I for everyone, I don't know what the numbers are. You will never know, but let's for every one of these messages that I do get, there are probably tens more of people having the same experiences, but not messaging me about it. So, or I'm,
Mm-hmm.
just my visibility is causing people to have these experiences. So another one has said here, I'm so, I'm a mum who celebrates, my children's. So I support my children for being who they are. Things have been a bit difficult, but seeing you doing what you do has actually helped me to try and make sure I don't get their pronouns wrong, or as a family we don't say the wrong name, and that we're trying and things like that. And just so that's quite nice. There's another one here. Someone has just said, got in contact with me and saying my child is gender questioning, and gave me quite a fair bit of information there, which I won't disclose, but basically saying that she's never worn any girl clothes, really doesn't never like wearing a bra when she was going for that kind all those kind of things. And then later, months and months down the line, contacted me and say, oh, thanks for the being you a new advice. Incidentally, I now have a new son.
Oh, that's
I know, that's
amazing.
beautiful. Yeah. So and that those kind of messages filled me with joy, because that's an uncertain person who's obviously got so much love for their child and really wants
Mm.
to do well by them and support them, but doesn't know how to go about it. Because perhaps, I guess, when you've got a child or a parent who's going through these kind of things, you get so uncertain and like, what do I do? What do I do? And then to hear like what happens later on in the story, that they've gone through all of that and they've worked through it all, and now suddenly they've come back and said, well, obviously that child has felt so loved and supported that they've been able to start making that transition in their family. And that's just, those kind of things just keep me going when I hear things like that.
Yeah, I bet.
Here's
Oh.
one you'll like, Esther, because it actually mentions your podcast.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, my youngest daughter and I have been listening to your podcast, Telling Your Story, which is the first episode that we did.
Mm-hmm.
It's really touched and inspired me. It's, there are so many people who are ignorant to the range of gender identities. For those who may be going through difficult times, I'm humbled to know you, albeit virtually, as a fellow human being and a geographer.
Oh.
So that was really, really nice.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And this person has a child who is doing something to do with medicine. And like, your podcast has like really helped to have some really fantastic ferment discussion about gender identity and stuff like that. And how that this apparently that their child went to did something in America and came across pronoun badges and things like that. And so,
Ah, yeah.
it's like, wow, that's so cool.
That is so awesome, though. Yeah,
So that's a bit of
yeah.
feedback for your podcast there.
That's brilliant. See, that makes it all worth it, doesn't it? Like, sounds a bit dramatic,
Absolutely.
but it's like I'm doing this for kind of for myself in a way. It's kind of my creative expression, I suppose. But getting that kind of feedback, like you say, for you, is it does mean so much, doesn't it? It means so much.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so I'm building up to. I don't want to rank these because every individual message I get is somebody's personal and really close to the heart story. But in terms of kind of the impact they had on me, is kind of I'm now into my top three, shall we say. Every message I get that kind of says these things is amazing, and they really do fill me with gender euphoria and everything. So my top three in no particular order. There's one where someone got in touch with me who said that there's a member of their family who is questioning their gender, but there are some other members of their family who were finding it very, very difficult. But the person who contacted me like really wanted to be supportive of their family member, and seeing me doing my stuff, as a teacher online, and all the kind of the background that I have, once being a teacher and just going about my stuff, has actually helped those family members to appreciate, well, if there's this someone in the profession has gone through these changes and is being proud about who they are, then maybe this thing that our family members going through is not so, well, I wouldn't say ridiculous after all, or whatever is going through their head about something that's stopping them from accepting this person. And this person then got back to me and said that apparently their members of the family have now warmed to it. They've got a long way to go, but now the acceptance is starting to come in, because they've seen that this person who was once a geography teacher is it's not these kind of it's not this kind of thing that they just see maybe random people, young people on social media going for a trend. Well, if it's someone who's in their 30s who's had a career like this is experiencing this for themselves, then maybe it's not a fad, maybe it's not just ill in the head, maybe it's something real. And so it's good to know that teachers, in a general sense, seem to still have that sense of respect and authority in society, which is quite nice. Although it's been a bit difficult to see for the last few months with COVID and the teacher bashing recently. But I won't go into politics. So let's see now. Which one shall I choose? Okay, this is a really, really interesting one. This surprised the hell out of me when this happened. So it might not surprise many of your listeners to know that, speaking of politics, my affiliation is left of centre. Let's just say, I'm a progressive person. I'm someone who has faith in science, and yeah, I'm left leaning with my politics. So I was massively surprised to get a message out of the blue from someone from the Make America Great Again community, from the MAGA community.
Right.
Now, before I go on, I'll say surprised, as in, there you go. There's that's my own prejudice is there, right there. Okay, that someone like that would reach out to me. So I have to accept and own that feeling like that would be based on my own prejudices. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
But this exchange I had with this person, obviously, in terms of the worldview of that side of the political spectrum, there's going to be very little that I can match with in terms of on that kind of worldview on terms of politics. But when it comes to human issues, there are some things that we can overlap on. And this person said to me that I'm really struggling here. I'm not getting as much support in my community as I would like. I don't want to tell other members of my family, but there is one of my children one of my children is already in the LGBT community, but another one of them is questioning their gender, and I'm really, really worried about it because they've heard all this information, these things that have been demonized in the trans community, really. And so, out of concern for their child, they've said, I want to actually talk to someone who's been and would you mind me telling like what it was like for you? What is being transgender for you? And that was incredible, asking me, instead of just assuming my story or assuming I'm doing it for an agenda or a trend or something like that. This person asked me, I would really like to know about you, and it might help me to understand where my child is going through. And then they said, I totally understand if you don't want to talk to me about this. I've obviously, having read my profile, but I've got a completely different worldview to this person. But I said no. So I swallowed my prejudice, swallowed my pride. I said, first of all, the fact that you reached out to me shows that you're an amazing parent, because you've got your kids to heart. And I said I'll be absolutely honoured and willing to tell you about my story. And I did. So I went through basically everything from the first episode of the podcast I talked about. And then this person said, I really loved reading all this context. It's helped so much. I've been reading all night about how I've never come across terms like umbrella or gender spectrum or non-binary or things like that. But seeing you put those words into that context has really, really helped. And yeah, so I mean, I've not heard from this person since. This was about a year ago. But the last message was so kind. It said, "Thank you so much for your help. It has really helped. You're such a precious human being."
Oh,
it's. And is it okay if I share your story?
Stuff.
Yeah, is it okay if I share your story with my child? And I was like, you most certainly can. Yeah, and I ended by saying, I said, thank you so much. This is love. I said, your love as their parent and supporting your children to discover who they are, that's as precious as anything you can do. So we are from complete polar opposites of the political spectrum, and yet we found something we could come together on. And both of us, me visibly as a trans person, that person who they disclosed to me that they weren't finding much support from their community, reached out to me, and we found a common ground. And we've both left this chat having a little bit more faith in humanity. So that's another beautiful one.
And we can all use a bit more faith in humanity at the moment, right?
Well, I tell you what. Well, with everything that's taking place, we know that a certain major political event is coming up very soon at the end, towards the end of this year, and there's so much polarization, and I think everybody's just, there's been so much disconnect, and everybody has lost sight of the kind of things that make us human and things that the common traits that we have. It's just such a shame, and obviously I have my preferences and my reasons for the way I want certain things to go in politics. Of course I do. And I'd argue I have some substantiated reasons for those. And this person probably will vote for Donald Trump if they're still a member of the MAGA community, but at least that's one member of the community. What can I say? I can't tie everyone wearing a red hat in the same brush, because that's completely against my ideals and the way I should think about the world anyway. Completely prejudiced, and is, if only we could just have conversations like this, I guess, is the short story with each other. So, and then the final one is, I can't stop thinking about this one. And this was the first, I've left this one till last, but this is probably one of the first exchanges I had. And this one actually means a lot to me, because this one didn't happen. All the ones that I've talked about have been messages online. People have messaged me and said things. This one actually happened in person. And this is why this is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. And I'm choking up about thinking about it right now. I'll recall this story to the very best of my ability without giving any identities away. But part of my last job, I helped to organise a conference. I was actually like the lead organiser of this conference and abroad. And when I did this conference, it was the first time I'd done something in public, presenting completely, as me as a transgender person. So I was in front of all these academics. There were 200 academics. There was members of staff. There was, and I was me being me. It was the first major public event I'd done that. And then it was the last day of the conference. One of the people supporting me come up to me in floods of tears. And I was, because by this point, the people who were helping me out with the event, we were a really close knit team. We were so busy, so there was so much. We got to the point where we were almost like a surrogate family just for the event, because we were really supporting each other. So of course, I cared deeply that this person was coming up to me in floods of tears, and I said, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? Has something gone wrong? Is something broken? Has a delegate upset you, or something like that?" And then this person was like, "No, it's good. It's like, can we go somewhere private and sit down?" I was like, "Okay, so let's do this." So we found somewhere quiet, found somewhere private, sat down, and this person said to me, "I just want to say thank you so much. When I saw you for the first time and you introduced yourself, you filled me with so much hope. And actually, my friends don't know this, but I'm actually dating a trans woman who is completely lost about what to do. Doesn't know whether they should start transitioning, doesn't know whether they should be visible, doesn't know whether they should tell anybody. And the only people that have been, who only know, are like me." And I went home the first night and told her about you, about how you're just doing your thing, being this fit, and it just filled us with so much hope. And I said, probably hear it in my voice as well. And I just said, "Okay, I can understand why you're crying now."
Yeah.
And
amazing.
I don't do this for attention. I mean, I've had some negative reactions. Of course, when you're visible, you get the rough with the smooth, and and I've had people, mostly strange, a couple of people I thought were friends, say things like, "You're only doing this for attention," and things like that. But you know what? For every 10 or 100 people, most of them strangers, who say things like that, that just all gets blown away like that when you get that one occasion of someone come to you and say, "You have changed my life," or "You've changed the life of a loved one for the better." Every single one of those negative comments, they just suddenly, they fade, they disappear, they like drift away like smoke. And that's it. They're gone. And it's, I've not, we didn't exchange numbers. We don't keep in contact with each other now. And, it was a one-off thing because we were only there for that week for that conference. But I'd love to get in contact. I don't have their contact details, but I would so love to get in contact with them and just say, "Hey, how's things?" Not go, "How are you getting on with that thing?" But just say, "Hey, love to get, how did your studies go?" or something like that. And then if they provide, but yeah, it's, and so now what I've been doing as well is I've been telling members of the trans community who've been feeling under the weather or feeling like they're not amounting to much. I've just said, I've just been messaging them and DMing them or text them and just saying, "Look, you probably have no idea how many people's life you're changing by just being yourself. You may never know. I'm just lucky to get these messages, perhaps because I have an online presence. I have a blog. I have a video blog, and so of course I will get some DM. I'm a member of a community, the geography teacher community, where we talk to each other quite a lot online. So my situation just gets me these messages, I guess. But yeah, for anyone out there who is visible and being their genuine selves, they probably do not realize that they are probably changing at least one person's life for the better just by being who they are.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful. And that's perfect. As I said at the beginning of this, I'm altruistic by nature. I feel like I wish I could go back into the classroom, because helping kids learn and grow is one of the best things I ever did in my life. And that's it for me. If I, the cliche, if I died tomorrow, the only thing I'd want to think about is that have I made people's lives better for them? If I could do that just by being myself, well, as hard as it may be in the current climate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not being so literate now. I must admit, I'm getting a little bit emotional about it. People know I get emotional when I stop talking, or stop being, being able to put two words together.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's exactly what's happening. Amazing. Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
It is, and I don't know, you get some trolls who listen to this podcast or something like that and say, yeah, like I'll take things that didn't happen for $100, or that thing that goes around at the moment. But no, everyone is. I guarantee you, they're every single genuine thing. In fact, I have more than that, and I don't think I did them justice, because I was trying to scan read them and make sure I read them in a way that made them anonymous. But I have, there are other messages I could pick out, and I keep those. Yeah, I keep those messages whenever I have a bad day, and I ever think to myself, "Kit, are you doing the right?" Or someone fills you with doubt, and then you start to have imposter syndrome. Am I trans? And am I doing this for attention? All those negative, irrational thoughts. I just go back into my DMs or into my emails, and I just read those messages again. I'm like, and that puts me back on the path, gives me a bit of a breath of fresh air. So yeah, but as I say, be visible if you can. Don't go beyond what you feel is comfortable and safe for you. There are people like myself who will be visible for those who feel they can't or they won't, and hopefully give you the courage to see if you can take the baby steps towards being your true self in front of the world. Because it is when that happens and you emerge as that butterfly from that cocoon, it is so empowering. It is so empowering. And but not everybody appreciates butterflies.
That is true. Yeah.
A lot of them just drift away. They pass you by. You don't really take much notice of them, and they're quite hard to catch as well. And I can bring in all this. I'm kind of doing all my waxing lyrical fingers now. But seriously, it's but the people who matter most to you, and after you've shed all the toxic, connections and bits of your life, the people who will remain are the ones who will see you for the brightest person you are and the brightest colours you are. So don't give up. Don't give up.
Amen to that.
Amen.
So what's up next for you? Anything exciting?
I'm on the cusp of something exciting. I mean, there's a couple of bits that I'm waiting on some official confirmation, but there's one thing which I'm really, really excited about. And this is another thing as well, is so many opportunities are still out there for me, even though I'm visibly trans. I mean, some people say, oh, doors shut to you when you're a trans person. And yes, if you're lower down the privilege ladder, that's certainly true. But there's one thing which has been absolutely amazing. And that's I've been asked to give a talk for a really, really well-known, popular, fantastic group that are based in. They got two offices based in San Francisco and New York, and what this is, it's academic talks with a different, and their hashtag is something weird. So what it is about, you basically, it's not been happening recently because of COVID, but it's been online recently, and that's usually what happens. It's you get in the dance floor of a club gets turned into a lecture theatre in a kind of sense, but with a difference. So you get up, you give a talk about something academic or scientific or historical or something like that, but you also tell it in a way that's quite comical or anecdotally or with some banter thrown in and maybe jibes at some, maybe personifying things or turning heroes into villains and villains into heroes and things like that. And the most important thing is that your audience might be undergrads or students or academics themselves, but they one of the requirements is they have a little bit of drink and they get a bit tipsy as well. So, so one of the best talks I went to in San Francisco, and this is the thing called Odd Salon, and that's how they pronounce it in the States. Odd Salon, I guess we call it in England. Salon as in a hair salon. But one of the best talks I went to when I was over in San Francisco was about the history of the public toilet. So, of course, it had all these really fascinating, interesting kind of historical kind of context, stuff like that. But most of the talk was all about where the term the John comes from, which was basically a piss take out of the monarch, King John. Yeah, I'm going to crap on basically, or spending. Where did the term "spend a penny" come from? Things like, and there was some really fantastic about how the first public toilets in London were arranged and how they. And how they were completely ridiculous, and how it led to like people almost with their backs to each other. But it was really hilarious, and so it's talks like that. So it's like intellectual, academic talks, but with that kind of like funny, comical twist. And you're meant to kind of get the crowd riled up and get them shouting out things. So yeah, I've been asked to actually give one of their first international talks, which could be amazing. Which is all going to be about decay, and I don't want to say too much, but it's all going to be about decay and the Anthropocene and what human elements of humanity may be left if we all were to disappear, and actually the things that will outlast us might be feral pigs, cows, and cats. So, but
cats
there's
for
my
sure.
anecdote there.
Yeah,
you cat lovers out there, you're like, yes, I told you so. Cats will rule the world.
We knew.
But I'm not going to disclose too. But it's going back to what you said about exciting things about people. This is happening because they think I'm just good at what I do. They've seen me give my talks. They've seen me educate people, stand up in front of audience. They thought it's a great idea. The fact that I'm transgender obviously means nothing to them, in terms of, we better be careful. We keep, with this. No, Kit's a good speaker. Let's have them on. So that's been brilliant. So I found that's, going forward, exciting things. Some, there's been, I've had feelings that some doors have closed, but to me that's just shedding toxicity. I've lost some quote unquote friends. I've maybe not been able to do things that I've used to be able to the past. Then really think about it, is that, do I really want to be engaging in those kind of circles anyway, or doing that kind of stuff if they're quite hostile, or turn a nose or an eye at those kind of things. Whereas I have opportunities like this talk to give, which sounds absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited. And so that
sounds like great fun.
And and the other thing is that I might be working with children again. So, but it's not official yet, but that's quite exciting. I've just got to dot the I's and cross the T's with that one. So might be doing a job which involves working with young people, which is so cool, because that's just part of my identity, working with youngsters, and I have so much to learn from them, and it keeps me young as well, Esther. That's the main thing. Keeps me young.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like things are going amazingly for you.
Yeah, and as I say, there's typical struggles, and
of course.
no, I wouldn't. Nothing. It's not all plain sailing, plain smooth, things like that. But all the good things happening and all these lovely messages that I get, they help you build your resilience, and they help you to maintain a sense of sanity, and when somebody does come and say something really stupid or very old troll like or very nasty, then you find that you can brush it off a lot easier, and just shed it off as water off a duck's back kind of thing. But as I say, I know my privilege helps me out quite a lot with that. So I'm under no illusions with that.
Brilliant. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Not really.
Covered it all. Yeah,
well, me, I kind of start off with your question and go off on a tangent, don't I? So no, I think that's really it. So I suppose to bring this full circle to the beginning, it's like, so it's been 2 year and a half since I last spoke. I've grown so much as a person, and it's something that I've still got a long ways to go. I've finally handed. This is a new thing since I last spoke to you. So I finally got my referral for a gender identity clinic. That was at the start of this year. But for those listeners who aren't aware, the wait times for those are ridiculously long. The letter I got said 30 months wait time to
have just 30.
30, yeah. So that's just to have your first consultation. It's not to start anything. That's just that first chat. of course with coronavirus, it's all those kind of, the gender identity clinics have not exactly been a top priority. So I imagine that it's been on pause, that wait time. So yeah, but that's something that's so the next stage of my, so basically, yeah, I've pretty much totally gone through the social transition, and everyone, friends, family, colleagues, communities. That's it. Kit's out there. Kit's doing their thing. So the next stage now is mopping up the things that cause the other bits of gender dysphoria regarding my physical appearance, my physical body. Really, that's it. Really, so it's things are going pretty well socially. So I think, again, another measure of privilege. I think I can wait in line.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I feel like that bit of Beetlejuice, in the movie when he gets his ticket, when he goes to the land of the dead, and it's like 900 billion things. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, watch the movie Beetlejuice. You'll know what I'm talking about. And that's what we feel like in the gender identity clinic, a queuing line. Oh,
God, but yeah, I can't even imagine. But like, it must be a very double thing to feel. It's like, yeah, you're finally in the process, but like, oh my God, how long? Oh God,
Yeah, and my doctor surgery practitioners, they are amazing. Like the nurses, particular, are just so lovely. And so I won't name them because obviously it will disclose where I live. But if there's anybody at my local doctor surgery who are listening to this, know that you are the coolest people ever. You work for the NHS, which is coolest in itself, which is amazing itself. But you are amazing. I mean, the first thing that my I'll name her because she's lovely. So the first thing that Claire said to me when I told her about this for the very first time when I had my appointment, I said to Claire, she said to me, "Sorry, Kit, we're learning this for a lot of us are learning about this for the first time." And we had a talk from Katie John Went, who came in and spoke to us, and that's a name that some of your listeners may be familiar with. I know you will be familiar with, most definitely. And gave a talk to our surgery, and like really set us on a good path. But we're all learning for the first time. And the most beautiful words that she said was, she came up to me, she took my hand, she said, we really want to make this happen. Let's do this together." I was like, oh, this is so cool. But it's lovely. Wow. Yeah. And Claire's been amazing. I mean, she and her colleagues must be off her feet at the moment. I mean, they always are under normal circumstances, but now, and I've been wanting to call up the surgery just to check in, because they told me, they said, "Kit, if you ever want to chat, just call us up." And that's lovely of them to have that offer. But I haven't done so, knowing how much pressure they're under at the moment. But I really should phone them up, not just to check in with the progress of things going on with me, but I just want to make sure that they know that they're still amazing, and just give them 5 minutes to say, "Hey, yeah, this is how I'm feeling, but how are you feeling?" I see, I'm doing it again. That's that altruistic thing. Like I'm gonna mother people. But so yeah, that's the other thing. And they've been brilliant at the surgery, and again, I'm lucky. That's something I didn't think I would get. I thought they'd be like very formal and say, "Yeah, okay, we'll put you on the process," but no, it was just so much humanity and
beautiful
and sensitivity about how they went about it. And so yeah,
I'm sure Claire would love to hear from you, even if it's 2 minutes.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, you see, the person in me is like, I don't want to ring up and take 5 minutes away from an appointment of someone else, and that's just what I'm like. But I know you've got to look after number one first as well. If I do need that, Claire said to me, if you do need that chat, Kit, ring us up. That's what we're here for. So mental health is very important, and they know that. They know that. That's why they said so. I can't think of anything else to update everybody with.
Well, we've covered a lot.
If you have any more questions, you can email me.
I'll put that in your bio. Yeah. Totally.
But but actually, kind of bridging that to a kind of semi-serious thing. If anybody does want to, see me in action or get in touch with me, they are so welcome to. They can just go to my blog, which is jogramblings.com, and if you don't know how to spell it, I suppose we can put it in a description somewhere. But they can see the videos of me, of the visually see what I've been talking about, what I've been doing, and whatnot. And then if anybody's got any questions with me, I mean, most people obviously contact me about educational stuff or advice on that. But if anybody wants to just contact me and talk to me, if it's personal as well, hopefully the evidence is what everyone's been hearing. I am so careful with confidentiality, if I always ask before I share anything, anything you tell me, it will always be taken in the strictest confidence, and you can riff off me. It's absolutely fine. And get in contact. I love to listen. So
Lovely. Thanks so much, Kit.
Oh, thank you so much, Esther, for having me back. It's been an absolute pleasure. And the podcast is going absolute great. And it's been wonderful to listen to everybody's story and the rainbow that you're painting, you're helping everybody to paint through your podcast is amazing.
I love that.
What we in, like 10 episodes, 11 episodes in now? And
11, yes.
Wow.
We're going to be number 12.
Yeah. And it's just, okay. Yeah. So, it's incredible. It's incredible how much diversity has already been shown in just those few episodes. And just that we're part of the human race doing our own thing. And we're all our own individual people.
Yeah, definitely. Yay.
So well done, you.
Thank you. Well, you too. Brilliant. It's changed the world. Woo!
Yes. Well, geography teachers, that's what we do.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/kit-2, where you can also read the transcript, and you can find out more about Kit on their website geogramblings.com or on Twitter at geogramblings. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com and on social media. If you like what we're doing here and you want to support us, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded.